here, and today we're doing my review of DC's The Doomsday Clock. This is the comic book Carnage, and yes, I did buy the mask changing cover, the particular for Doomsday Clock issue 1. But basically, what we have here is a 12-issue series, which is basically a sequel to Watchmen. I have a feeling Alan Moore is having a tantrum somewhere. Yeah. He's not going to be happy about this, but question is, are the fans happy? Or is this fan sat behind the camera happy? And also, are you guys happy? Let me know in the comment section what you think. Okay, first things first, I'm going to address something. This is going to be full of spoilers, by the way. There's a new Rorschach in this, not Walter Kovacs. The guy's black. I don't have a problem with that, because, yeah, you could accuse it of, like, changing stuff. But it's a different person underneath the mask. And Rorschach's one of those characters where as long as he doesn't take the mask off, and as long as he acts like Rorschach, it doesn't matter. Because you could literally count on your hands. You could literally count on your hand the amount of times you saw Rorschach without his mask in the original comic. I think it was like 1, 2, 3 occasions. Maybe 3 to 5 occasions you had the original Rorschach without his mask on. Now, as long as they don't keep pushing, yeah, I'm Black Rorschach, I'm Black Rorschach, as long as they don't keep pushing that, I don't have a problem. Because at the end of the day, if you really don't like it that much, this comic book is incredibly dark. It's in a shut-down prison ward. Just chalk it up to the lighting. Or at the end of the day, just ignore it entirely and just pretend it's Walter Kovacs, because he acts like Walter Kovacs. It's honestly not a problem. But the thing is, like, when I turn to this panel, this is the first panel you see Rorschach, by the way, and literally, like, I started jumping up and down like a schoolboy. Because Rorschach, I'm honestly not sure. My favourite comic book vigilante, I'm torn between Red Hood and Rorschach. And I think after reading this, Rorschach is winning. Well, there's not actually much in the way of action in this. This is the first issue. This is just setup. And basically, in Doomsday Clock, what we find out that the new Rorschach is working with... Let me find the panel. He's working with this asshole from the original, Ozymandias. Or Ozymandias, depending on how you say it. The guy who instigated the entire plot of the Watchmen. If you have not read the Watchmen, why the hell have you picked this up? Why the hell are you watching this? Why are you not reading Watchmen? Go buy Watchmen right now. Literally, I don't even need to make a review on Watchmen, because there's that many reviews that will do it so much better. But anyway, you find out stuff, and oh yes, classic Night Owl suit. Classic Night Owl suit. Love it. Classic Night Owl suit in the corner. You get to see Archie, the owl ship. But it's like, it's... thing is, that's Rorschach to me. And in these panels, you can't actually tell who he is underneath it. So, the entire time, I just, it was only one... Hang on, let me find the panel. There was only... There was one panel. It's like, I didn't originally get what everyone was complaining about. Because there were some people that were making a big issue out of the fact that Rorschach had his skin colour changed. It was only really this panel here I noticed. And like there was one where he was reaching for something and you could see underneath the cuff of his shirt. But other than that, I really don't give a damn. There's this character called the Mime. He threatens Rorschach with an invisible pistol, and this is such a Walter Kovacs line. Wasn't funny the first. Let me give up my Rorschach impression. Wasn't funny the first time. Yeah. I haven't done that in such a long time. I used to be... Yeah, this was the other panel I told you about. That was when I first noticed it, and I went back and looked at the one where he took the glove off again. But honestly, I don't want to sound like a racist, because it honestly doesn't bother me. I don't care. It's not Walter Kovacs, but it's Rorschach. It's Rorschach in name and behaviour. You don't see his face, you don't see it's a different person, so as far as I'm concerned, as long as they keep it that way, I don't care. At the end of the day, the only reason it's a different person under the suit is because Rorschach got nuked at the end of Watchmen, so they have, like, no other way to bring him back other than change the person underneath the suit and just have him behave the same. And ultimately, that's what it is. They want Rorschach back in DC because Rorschach sells. Even if I didn't know the contents of this story, I would have brought it based off of that. Because Rorschach sells. Rorschach is the most recognizable Watchmen character other than Manhattan. So, think about that. Rorschach is possibly one of the most marketable characters in Watchmen. So, they're going to want him back. He's a money spinner. So, yeah. We'll have to see what happens to this new Rorschach. But he behaves pretty much like the original the entire time. And he actually takes offense when Ozymandias points out the differences between him and the original Rorschach. He's like, "Stop it, I am Rorschach." That's literally his response. He's like, "Yeah, I'll show you." It's like, "I don't mean to upset you. I'm not upset. Not yet." Like, you know, that's and also you've got the typical pissed off face. The moving ink blots for his mask are just done so well here. But you basically find out that their end goal is to find Manhattan. This is what's set up. They need to find Manhattan because Ozymandias believes Manhattan can set everything right. Because Walter Kovacs' actions have created a domino effect, and basically the end is motherfucking nigh. That's the situation here. Just putting it in layman's terms. The end of the world is coming. And I mean, you also have that shot pulled pretty much from the comic, but with some updated visuals on Ozymandias. That is the speech bubble from the original Watchmen comic. No changes at all. Then here we get something. We get something here showing Clark in the DC universe. Then it cuts. Then it gives us some information. That's my boy, Walter Kovacs. Puff piece on Kovacs. A menu for Morning Joe's. According to Rorschach, well, according to both Rorschachs actually, this has the best breakfast in America. I'm going to find that shop if I ever go to Yankee Land. Yeah, and we have the other covers. This one looks fucking sick. It's taken directly from the original Watchmen when Rorschach's walking away after he burns the guy's house down. Actually, I kind of hope we have like a watershed moment, because this new Rorschach doesn't seem very violent. So I kind of hope we have that same watershed moment with this new Rorschach that the old one had. Like, you know, you have Dr. Malcolm Long. That's his psychiatrist. There's actually, speaking of which, there's theories floating around that the new Rorschach is actually his psychiatrist, or it's the boy from the newspaper stand grown up. That's a cover for issue 3. And also, they completely misquoted Rorschach here. It says, if reading this now, whether I'm alive or dead, you will know the truth. That is misquoted. It says, whether I'm dead or alive, I'm pretty sure in the original, it says, whether I'm dead or alive upon this meeting, I hope the world survives long enough for this to reach you. That's the line from the original Watchmen, I think, but then again, I do kind of like the twist on it, but I just wish they'd have quoted it correctly. Someone tell me what's so goddamn funny, I don't get it. What's so goddamn funny, I don't get it. Somebody explain to me, the comedian. It's kind of ironic the comedian says that. And then it's a cover of the Joker. Peculiar. I wonder if that's a hint. Because we do have 3 Jokers now. Then we have a quote from Manhattan. All these generations are struggling. What purpose does it achieve? And then we have a quote from Ozymandias. But the Venticular cover, literally when I first got this out of the box, I was just sat here doing this. Like it was the most fabulous thing in the world. And honestly, it's great. I love this cover. It's a panel from the original Watchmen graphic novel, and it's good. I kind of like the fact you've got the Trinity. It's meant to be merging the 2 worlds together, Watchmen. The purpose of this is to merge Watchmen and DC. That's your purpose of Doomsday Clock. And so far, I've been happy with their representation of both worlds. I'd rather they created a new Rorschach than resurrect Walter, because I just feel that card has been played with so many DC characters, it would be fucking annoying if they did it again. Because you've got Jason Todd, bloody Talia, Ra's al Ghul, Damian's been brought back, so's Cassie Kane, Tim Drake will be brought back eventually, come on, we all know that's gonna happen. Superman. Like, I'm just getting fed up of it. Can we just have one character that will die a hero, please? I honestly think it would be kind of insulting to the end of Watchmen if Rorschach didn't stay dead. Because the reason Rorschach's death hits you in the feels in Watchmen is because he was right. He may have been a bad person, but he was right. And he was honourable. He stood up and he said, no, this is wrong, when everybody else turned away. So, when he gets zapped by Manhattan, that's why it punches you in the feels. And also, Rorschach is flawed to the point where you can all relate. You know, I mean, we've all got stuff wrong with us. We've all got stuff that stops us from being perfect. So, you can kind of relate to a guy like Rorschach. Whereas someone like Manhattan or Ozymandias, like the smartest man or a walking god, you can't relate to that. And, you know, but you can relate to a guy like Rorschach that's just been stepped on his entire life. And he's just like, you know what, enough. I will not compromise. I will stand up and I will make things right. You'll have to forgive me if I sound a bit choked. I've got a sore throat. But, you know, like, you got to respect a guy like Rorschach, where when everybody around you is willing to cover up the truth, you stand up and say no. So, you know, to leave Walter Kovacs dead, for me, is the best thing. You know, I want to see where they take this new Rorschach. Because, I was writing some fan stuff, and I kind of had a similar sort of idea, but it was like his son that took up the mantle after he died. So, like, you know, it's slightly different, but it's, you know, same sort of idea, different person taking up the mantle of Rorschach and behaving like Rorschach. But we'll see where this goes, and it's 12 issues, so we're getting roughly the same sort of size of Watchmen, I think, so I'm excited to see where this goes. Will this be as good as the original Watchmen? I don't think so. Very little is these days. But, you know, could be a decent little follow-up. We'll have to wait and see. But, you know, I was happy enough reading through this, and, you know, normally I'm not a fan of them changing any character's race, you know, white to black or black to white. You know, I don't like that in general, because I feel like if you write a character to be a certain way, it should be respected. But, you've got to remember, Rorschach, this is a new Rorschach, so just give it a chance. I guarantee you, if you switch your brain off to that and you read this, you will actually forget it's not Walter Kovacs. Because he's so much like him in his mannerisms, his behaviour. I mean, the way he's standing here, the way he's walking, even all the, like, the way he speaks in the journal-type monologues is pretty much the same. And, I mean, these shots, that is Rorschach. You know, this entire thing just screams Rorschach. I don't care if it's a different guy under the suit. He's behaving the same. And he is, more or less, in my opinion, the same. But, you know, just give the writers a chance. They could be about to tell a really good story here, and people are jumping on it because they've changed Rorschach's race. And you know what? If he behaves like Rorschach, I really don't care. It's been too long since we've had a decent Rorschach story. Don't complain now we're getting one. Because it may just get to a point where people are like, okay, you don't like that? Let's put that character in the box and never use it again. And that would be a shame. Because if you did a version of Rorschach, you could go so many ways with it. Or you could do what they're doing here and just bring back the old one with a new person under the suit. They are more or less the same. There's no difference. But that aside, it's a good story, good setup. I'd say if you're not a massive Rorschach or Watchmen fan, wait for trades. If not, buy the issues. Because I'm a massive fan of this character, hence why I got this cover. Because, yeah, Rorschach is probably my favourite comic book vigilante. Honest to God, he tops Red Hood, he tops V. Tops Red Hood, tops V, tops Frank Castle. Punisher is tops Punisher, tops Red Hood, tops V. He's my all-time favourite, honestly, hand on heart, right now. Rorschach is my favourite. The reason he doesn't get talked about as much is because outside of Watchmen, the original, I don't really see much that is that much of a great representation of him. But, if you're a fan of Watchmen, pick it up. Give it a chance. If you don't like it, just chuck it in the trash and ignore it. Forget it exists. But, just don't be like Alan Moore. Give it a shot. I'm not knocking Alan Moore. Alan Moore's a great writer, but I just think it's a bit stupid of him, really, to create characters like Rorschach and then be like, okay, that's it. Don't want anybody making anything else about these guys. That's it. It's done. Because, I mean, before Watchmen, I've heard of the story in Before Watchmen Rorschach. It's Rorschach going out after a serial killer, and it's just a day in the life of. And just, it's interesting, some of the concepts it brings up. I mean, Rorschach's a character that is very mentally damaged. Probably worse so than Jason Todd. So, you've got a character that is incredibly interesting, and you can do some really interesting things with. So, honestly, I think Rorschach needs his time in the sun. It's come up again. That time where we need a Rorschach story has come up again. And you know what? I'm going to buy, unless of course they do something really outrageous, I'm going to buy all 12 of these and I'm going to enjoy them. You know, if it suddenly goes really wacky and really stupid, I might stop, but I'm probably going to buy all 12. I'm probably going to enjoy all of them. Because you know what? It's pretty good. Is it Watchmen level quality? The original Watchmen? No. But it does the characters justice. And there's a revelation in here about Ozymandias that I'm not going to spoil. I laughed because it's cruel justice, and I honestly enjoy. It's like basically the and also it's interesting. You find out that these criminals they don't know what to think of this new Rorschach. Some of them are scared stiffless. They're like, is that him? Is that the real Rorschach? Oh my god, is that him? It's like the bit with the keys. Let me find the bit with the keys. This one, like, the guy's, like, threatening this prison guard. He's like, give me the keys. Chucks him back. Rorschach picks him up. And he says, hang on, let it focus. He's like, you still want out? And he's like, no way, man. I'm cool. And Rorschach just walks off. Like, I mean, like, you see, you've got this mixed reaction. Because you've got some that are like, no way, that's not him. And you've got some that are like, oh my god. You know, it's an interesting story that I wanted to explore in my own writing. Because I do write fan fiction and stuff, and I actually started writing a script called Watchmen Faceless, and it was gonna be about a character called Edward Kovacs. In the 1999. He's about 17, 20, and he takes up the mantle of Rorschach, and he defies the Keenan Act, and it was about how people react to him, and like how he has this vendetta against Adrian Veidt, and he was like going out because he read the journal, all of it, and he actually submerges himself in this journal, submerges himself in his father's ideology. And he goes out and he becomes Rorschach so much to the point where he forgets who he was. And part of it is about his sister and his friend, who is actually the son of a night owl, pulling him out. And, like, pulling him back to who he once was, and getting him to a state where he accepts, look, I'm Edward Kovacs, my father's dead, there's nothing I can change by that, but I can at least honour his memory by doing this. This is what he would have wanted, so I can at least do this for him. Like, you know, I kind of wanted to explore that, and I wasn't really sure how to write it. I wasn't doing very well with it, and I eventually scrapped it. The funny thing is, I was recently going to pick it back up, and then this was announced. And, I've picked this up, and, they're going with a very similar sort of idea. And I'm just like, well, no need for me to write that anymore. I mean, like, you know, if you guys actually want me to write that, and when it's done, or the first chapter's done, I link the Wattpad link in the description. But you know, I haven't got the time these days to be committing to massive things like that. Because it was going to be a massive story originally, and it was going to focus on Edward a lot as a person. You know, but if you guys want to see kind of what I do with that idea, you know, maybe after Doomsday Clock is finished, or during, you know, because this would put me in the Watchmen vibe. I'm tempted to go downstairs and start writing that again. But you guys let me know what you think. If you want me to write that and put the link in the description, I will. But I'm glad somebody else is along the same sort of trail of thought. Let's see what happens if somebody else picks up the Rorschach mantle and decides to honour Walter Kovacs. Like, because there's a theory at the moment that this guy is the kid from the newspaper stand all grown up, or his psychiatrist. I actually think the more plausible one is his psychiatrist. Like, you know, his psychiatrist is like, Rorschach's gone. Something's happened to Walter. I'm going to shape up. I'm going to get some gear. And I'm going to go out and I'm going to honour him. This is like what he's done. Like, he has shown us the truth, and he's opened my eyes in turn through speaking to him. So, I'm going to go out and I'm going to do this in his memory. And it's a bit like, you know, he gets, like, you know, I think he's very much, like what I was going to do with Edward, he's very much lost in the persona of Rorschach. Because when people say, The only time he accepts that he isn't Rorschach is when his people are afraid of him that he needs, and he kind of like is like, you know, I'm not him, different guy, you know. And even then, he brushes over it briefly. And then when other people bring it up, he's like, I am Rorschach, like, you know. I'll bring up the one with Ozymandias again. He's like, he says, I am Rorschach, nothing else to tell. Which, you know, it's a bit like, yeah, he doesn't like, he's like, stop, shut up, right, I'm Rorschach, nothing else to tell. Like, he himself is kind of lost in the ideology. If this is the psychiatrist, he's deep in the ideology of Rorschach. He has lost himself. And I honestly think the idea of somebody losing themselves in the persona of somebody else is an interesting thing to explore. And if it does turn out it's the psychiatrist, I want to see, of the 12 issues, how he got here. I want, like, a side little story explaining how he got where he is now. You know, I don't want it to take up the entirety of Doomsday Clock. I mean, hell, actually, give Rorschach his own series after Doomsday Clock if he makes it out of this alive. I'm just praying he does. Fingers crossed. I want Rorschach to make it out of this alive because I want a Rorschach book. Fingers crossed he makes it out of this. But, honestly, guys, don't be put off by diversity in comics. And normally I agree with diversity in comics, but this time around I don't. It's still Rorschach to me. I've been shown nothing that stops it from being Rorschach. I mean, yeah, it's a different guy under the suit, but he still behaves like Rorschach. He still is Rorschach. Rorschach is a mantle. An ideology. The idea of never compromising. That is what Rorschach is. That is what Alan Moore writ Rorschach to be. Rorschach is more than just one man. Like, you know, it's a bit like, you know, Batman. Batman, there's been multiple Batman. Bruce Wayne's been Batman. Dick Grayson has been Batman. Terry McGinnis has been Batman. Jason Todd has taken up the Batman mantle. Albeit a very different version of Batman. But Jason Todd has still picked up the Batman mantle. So, I think Rorschach is going to become the same thing. Where Rorschach is a mantle. And different people have wore that mantle. And wore that mask. What would be cool is if we had about multiple different Rorschachs. Leading from the 1950s up to present day. And they all have the same mask, but other than that, they're different in some way. Like, you know, and they're somehow connected. I think that would be... They've opened up a really interesting door here. And I want to go through it. I want to see what's on the other side. Don't disappoint me, Don't disappoint me, DC. You've waved the carrot. Let's see if it tastes as good as it looks. Anyway, guys, I've rambled on long enough. I'll see you guys in the next video.